welcome to the Not Your Average Knits podcast. My name is Kim. This is episode 29, and hello to anyone who is new to the podcast, and welcome back to all of my returning viewers. It is July 12th today, a little bit later than I wanted to podcast. I know last time there had been a big break before I podcast last time. And was hoping to kind of do it a little more regular. But anyway, I am here now and have lots to show. I think in the summer it's tough. I tend to want to podcast when my husband is not at home, just because I'm so paranoid, like even just him being in another room with the door shut, that he'll, come out and walk by or hear me talking, or me just knowing he could potentially hear me makes me, I don't know, uncomfortable for some crazy reason. But he's a school teacher, so during the summer he is home a lot, in the afternoons and things. And then on the weekends, he does golf. So that's where he is in right now. And actually got a hole-in-one today, apparently. He texted me that. So that's very exciting because he has not got a hole-in-one since I've known him. So anyway, total aside right there. I hope everyone had a great 4th of July. Mine was pretty low-key, which is perfect and exactly what I needed. I actually could see lots of fireworks out my window. We have a condo with lots of big kind of floor to ceiling windows, and we're pretty high up. And I could actually see from a couple different towns from where we are. So that was kind of neat. Anyway, so what is happening? One of the things I wanted to make sure not to forget, last episode I had shown you my Home is With You shawl by Kay Litton of the Crazy Sock Lady podcast. She has released that. She released it on July 1st, I think. So if that was something that you were waiting on and you weren't aware that she had released it, definitely go over there and purchase it. I can't recommend the pattern enough. A lot of people have already started making it since she released it, and it's really cool to see like all of the different color combinations that people are using. It's definitely a shawl that I will make again. So I just wanted to remind you all of that. Also in kind of news, I guess, which I don't think I talked about. I don't remember, but I bought a sewing machine, which actually you can kind of see that. Oh, I need to like look. The white thing on the table right there. Is a sewing machine that I bought. Mainly, I've never sewn other than I think on our wedding like registry. I think I asked for like a mini one, and I have used it like years ago. Like we've been married almost 14 years. I think I used it to like hem a pair of pants very badly, to the point where it didn't matter if you could see it or not. I just wanted the pants shorter. And like totally minor things. And I'm sure I chucked it at some point because it was a super old, little, kind of useless sewing machine. Anyway, so I'm not a sewist at all. But with weaving, since I've become even more obsessed with it lately, as you will see, because of the way you weave, it sort of naturally creates fringe. And I just don't always want that. I want to be able to create cowls, maybe create some sort of like poncho garment type of thing at some point, maybe create my own bags, which is kind of my dream, to create woven bags. But I need a lot of help and training on a sewing machine before I do that. But anyway, for the most part, I wanted it to at least be able to make a hem, cut the fringe and make a hem, so that, and that not allowing the whole scarf to unravel. Looked around. If I remember, I'll put the kind of sewing machine that I bought below. I asked for advice from a lot of people that I know have sewing machines. Looked at a couple message boards on Ravelry for people that kind of sew their woven items. Ended up with the one that I got. It's a Brother, I think. Yeah, Brother. And really like it. It's sort of one that wasn't too expensive, is basic, very easy. Like you can use a pedal or not. Like you can actually just push a button to do it. A lot of things are very automated. You have a bunch of stitches that you can see on the sewing machine and like pick which stitch you want. Like it's kind of dummy proof, for lack of a better term, in a way. But then I guess it also has features that as you get better are still good features. So it's not like you're limited in kind of sewing as you improve. Anyway, just in general, wanted to let you know I bought it. Don't have anything to show that I've actually sewn. Although, funny story, so last week, I think it was July 2nd, I think it was the day before 4th of July, my friend Helen in my knitting group came over And I just got the sewing machine in that day. So we were playing around, and I took my very, very first thing I ever wove, which I did with Felici yarn, which, came out a funny size. It's really horrible. But I wanted to at least be playing around and sewing something that was really horrible that I would never use. So I was playing around with that fabric, was doing really good. Things were going well. And she was like taking some pictures of me. And then before she even had a chance to post a picture on Instagram, the fabric of my scarf got like eaten by the sewing machine, and it was like stuck deep in there. And Helen kept me calm, which was great because I might have freaked out. But we kind of looked at some YouTube videos, and I sort of played around with what I could actually like take apart and unattach. And we ended up getting it out there cleanly without seemingly, fingers crossed, breaking anything on my sewing machine. But that was within the first couple hours of using it, so that was fun. And haven't used it since. But I do have some of sort of the first things that I wove that I'm going to continue to kind of play around with and attempt to seam and see what happens. But it takes a lot of practice. Definitely does. Okay, and in terms of just other kind of things that are going on, as I mentioned last episode, in August, I'm going to do an entre-lock along for anyone who wants to join. I've had some really good feedback on that people that have tried before and kind of haven't really jumped into it. And I feel like a lot of knitters, I think it used to be like the thing like years and years ago, even before I kind of started knitting, but not a lot of people kind of do it anymore, and I think people should because it's fun and it's a really great way to show off some awesome kind of variegated and stripy yarn. So anyway, so that is definitely happening in August. I will probably podcast once. I'm hoping one more time at the end of July before August comes, and by then I may already kind of do a sample one so that I can be ready to kind of talk about it and show it a little bit so people can kind of make decisions on what they want to start when August hits. Anyway, so that's it for what is happening. Now what I've done, I have one finished knitting object. I don't want to say I've been in a rut, but so most of the knitting I've been doing has sort of been things I have to do. So I need to finish the blanket for my friends, which I still can't believe I haven't finished, but at this point I'm sort of waiting to finish it until fall. And then the two scarves that you will see in what I'm working on that someone had purchased for me. So I've really been trying to kind of focus on those things. Other than that, the other things that I want to cast on, I did actually cast on one new thing. I want to do things that are more with kind of DK and worsted weight. Like I feel like I want to get some things done that are just kind of bigger weight items so that I can kind of accumulate stuff for the craft fair that I do in the fall. And then I am going to be doing a test knit for someone, and it is fingering weight. So I want to kind of only have sort of a fingering weight, one kind of fingering weight item going on at once right now, since they do take a little bit longer to finish. And obviously as a test knit, I'll want to get that done fairly quickly. Anyway, so the first thing that I've done, you guys have seen this. This was sort of my commuting knitting project for a while. This is the Which Way shawl by Wonderland Yarns. So this is it. So it's not blocked yet. I literally finished this over a week ago, probably almost 2 weeks ago. And it's just been sitting in my living room. Not that it takes a lot to block, like it's not that hard to wash and pin and whatever. I'm just lazy and I'm just lazy. But I really like it. So this is sort of the area where you start, and it gets bigger and you change color. And then at this point, it's a very odd shape, which I guess is why it's called the Which Way shawl. But at this point here, you start decreasing. So then see how like it starts kind of changing shape there. And then this one right above my head is actually the cast off edge. So it just makes this really kind of interesting, almost like a trapezoid sort of. But I think once it's blocked and I sort of get a sense of like what the shape is, like this edge right now is just kind of funny, but I think it'll make a good sized shawl. Doesn't look so good stripe on stripe right now, but I do love this yarn. Is Wonderland Mad Hatter, and even before blocking it's really soft. And if you remember, I had seen this as a sample at another yarn, and it was in this same yarn and had been blocked, and I love the feel of it. So I do have another kit of one that is definitely going to be for myself. It's maroon and grays, like a really pretty maroon. I think when I do it, I might try and alter it a little bit so that the shape is a little different. Like maybe I'll make it like almost like the Find Your Fade that was like super triangular. Like I think I might do that instead. Oh, and I need to show you. Found a drop stitch randomly, like after I cast off, and it didn't even make it that far down. So I don't know how I saw it, or how it didn't drop even more. I think it's in an area, I was trying to figure out if it's in an area where there was a decrease. I don't think so. I don't know. So right now I just have it like hanging on a stitch, and I'll have to figure out how to kind of tack it down. I don't know. I'm glad it's near an edge because then I can kind of hide whatever I do like in the border, but it's rare for me that I drop a stitch. So that was scary. Maybe that's why I haven't blocked it, because I know I have to do that and I just don't want to. Anyway, so that is what I have done in the knitting world. Woven, I have 4 finished woven scarves. Actually 4.5 as I look at one over on the loom. That's very close to being done and I should just finish it. So this first one is with Hypnotic Yarns. If you follow me on Instagram, I post a lot of finished woven stuff with her yarn, which I absolutely love. It was sort of her yarn that I did kind of the first sort of wow scarf, which was in that hatchling colorway, that just in terms of like texture and color, it was like the first time I actually felt like I could actually weave, like I could do this. So I'm just kind of attached to her yarns. And she's wonderful. Cheryl, hi. So this colorway is Garage Band, which I think was the second skein that I ever bought from her. And actually I'll show you the first skein I ever bought from her in a second. But it was a really cool variegated colorway with like this pretty gold and like pinky browns and navies, and white. Just a really, really pretty colorway. Anyway, so what I did with this may be the first one you've seen like this. So where most of the other scarves that I've done of hers, for 2 skeins of yarn, I can make this sort of size scarf, and I use the same color for the 2 skeins. For this, I only had 1 skein of Garage Band. So what I did, so I've been buying these cones of yarn from Webs, and this is, I think, 50% merino, 50% tencel, and it's kind of like a heavy lace weight. It would probably amount to like where 100 grams, these are in ounces, so it's a little funny, but where like 100 grams of typical lace weight would be 800 yards, this one probably would be like 700 because it's like a little heavier. Anyway, so I have a bunch of these and I bought more recently, but once I sort of found that it worked well, and it's like $18 for this whole thing, and it's like over 1,200 yards, I think, of 1,200 yards of this. So, I mean, I can get a good amount of scarves out of this. Anyway, so what I did was set up the length of the scarf going this way was the Garage Band. And then the back and forth part, I had a blue colorway of that yarn in a cone that I just showed you. I don't know if you can, it's not really going to focus, but you can kind of see going across is like this blue color. So I was psyched. It worked out really well. And these almost feel, I still wet block these where you soak it and then put it in the dryer at a really low temperature, and it still puffs out the Hypnotic yarn. But since the other one's merino and tencel and a lot thinner, I wasn't sure sort of how it would work, but it still came out really well. And the length still worked okay. And like I said, I just have like crazy fringe down here that I need to continue to figure out what to do. Oh, and you can sort of see on the seam. So that's the color of blue that I have going horizontal across the whole scarf. Anyway, so I'm super happy with this. So it kind of was good in that I realized like if I only have a single skein of yarn, because that's me, I only buy single skeins. I've been better about buying more, but that if I can find a solid color to cross with like that, I can do that. And it's actually more cost effective because it doesn't take as much yards of this. And obviously this doesn't cost as much, like I said, so I can still make the same size scarf for less money, which is kind of nice. Because my goal, again, as I've kind of said before, is to sell a lot of these at the craft fair that I do in the fall at my niece's high school. And I should say too, I'm starting to post some on Etsy if anyone's interested. I created a few listings And I even created one that was kind of like commissioned, like custom. So like if you have 2 skeins of a color of yarn and you want me to weave you one, it'll be a lot cheaper, obviously, than buying one where I have to source the yarn. So I did post one of those, and then I've kind of posted a few of the different colorways that I've done that I could either sell you the one I have or get more yarn from Cheryl or who else and make another one for you. But anyway, so my Etsy shop is Not Your Average Knits, though average is AVG. I'll put that down here. But anyway, and I do have some of the patterns that I sell on Ravelry. I sell on Etsy too, just for people who don't use Ravelry. Anyway, so then the next one I did of the similar kind of style, and this was the first colorway that I ever bought from Cheryl, this of Hypnotic Yarns. This is Leaf Peeping, and I crossed it with this pretty like sagey green color that you can see in this little border. So it came out super pretty. I like that that yarn could tend to be a little bit brighter because it's such fall colors and has a lot of red and oranges, but I feel like with the green across it, it just kind of mutes the colors a little bit, which I think is really cool. And this colorway, she's just, maybe it's Monday, she's re-releasing in a kit with, I think, a bag and stitch markers and maybe something else. So if this is the colorway that you like, definitely go jump on that. It's a beautiful, beautiful fall color. So anyway, so that one is done. And these, for the most part, are give or take 10 to 12 inches wide and between like 70 and 80 inches long. I can't make it perfect every time. I'm not a professional, so it ends up about that. Then the last one I did in Hypnotic Yarn. Now this was one where I had the same color going both directions for the weave. And this is in Hypnotic Yarn's Red Velvet colorway. Just hold it closer. So it's a really pretty color. These like pinkish reds with like cream and brown. So pretty. And yeah, and like I said, these are, because it's both of the like 80% merino yarn, it's a lot smushier than these. But these end up being nice because they're silky too, because the cone yarn has tencel, so that they're almost like drapier and silky, where this one's like, I would sleep with it. Anyway, so that, and this one I think I put up on Etsy as an option. But anyway, great color for sure. Then finally, last woven object, and then I will get to my whips. So there's a technique in weaving which is sort of intentional color pooling. Like, with knitting, sometimes like you avoid pooling, which I usually avoid pooling, or there's ways that you can knit with, if you have good consistent tension, you can make the color pool in whatever work you have. So with weaving, it's hard to describe without going into detail, and I won't go into detail because not everyone's interested. But the way you set up the length of what you're weaving, depending upon the way the yarn is dyed, if it's dyed in sort of like a mirrored way. So if some of you remember, I think Felici, like way back when, used to go like red, green, blue, green, red, green, blue, green, red, and would like mirror, as opposed to like repeating the same stripe sequence. It would go and come back with the colors. Ones that do the mirrored thing where they go and come back, you can set up in a weave where then all of the colors will align and kind of make like a color blocking thing. Anyway, one of the yarns that do that is Blue Moon Fiber Arts Socks That Rock. I had bought a medium weight base, and I actually have that on my loom right now, but this one's lightweight. And this colorway is Farmhouse. I bought this from Eat Sleep Knit. So I don't even think you saw the yarn. I don't remember. And then I crossed this with a cone yarn, but actually in black, because the goal of this is you kind of want the solid color that you're doing to kind of fade away, and just see the way the colors are laid out. I'm super excited about this. I think I said Farmhouse colorway. Like, how freaking cool is that? So the end actually has green fringe, and like I said, you can see the black is the yarn I did across. So it has green fringe, and then it goes from red to yellow to blue to yellow to red to green to red to yellow, and then blue ends up being my fringe. And I do like how it's not like perfectly color blocked, that like you can kind of see these little kind of edges. I mean, it's a little easier to not see the black when you look from far away. But like, it's so cool. So I absolutely fell in love. Like, this looks so neat. And I mean, it's a little challenging to set up the colors that way because you have to keep like perfect tension to get them to block that way. But I'm super excited. So the one I have on my loom right now, I think was a special exclusive Eat Sleep Knit colorway from Blue Moon Fiber Arts. And it's like light blues and purples. And I'm using this purple yarn as like the cross weave. So that one's pretty cool. So I definitely want to make a lot of these. And like I said, not a lot of variegated yarns are like that. And it needs to be kind of a long enough distance of color change too, to kind of make it work. So it's hard to kind of find that perfect one. I think Lorna's Laces, from what I remember of looking at other people's projects like this, has that same color. If you're a yarn dyer and that's the way you do variegated, where you have one color that kind of serves as a pivot point for the others, let me know, because I will happily try your yarn. I did buy some self-striping yarn from Nomadic Yarns, and then I just ordered a color from Freckled Whimsy to see kind of what I could do with self-striping, but typically, again, those don't mirror. The stripes just usually repeat themselves, so it wouldn't come out this way, but it might almost look sort of plaid or like striped. So anyway, okay. So that's what I have done. So what I'm doing, I only have two, other than the blanket and other whips that have been languishing for a really long time, I have two kind of active works in progresses. So the first one, which I'm really trying to get done so I can send it off to the girl that ordered these from me, is the scarves I'm doing with my own pattern, which is Fahrenheit 113. I released this, I don't remember when, but you can definitely go check it out on my page. It's a really fun pattern. It uses, for the most part, worsted weight, and I think like under 100 yards of each color. So if you have leftovers from a project or worsted weight minis, excuse me, definitely a good project. You could probably even do this with a gradient and a solid to some extent if you, we'd have to modify the pattern a little bit, but anyway, a note too, if you're new to the podcast, I offer a coupon code to any of my viewers. If you want to purchase any of my patterns, you can get 20% off. The code is KYAK20. So if you're interested in this as I'm about to show it, go over there and grab it. So I think I mentioned, so I'm doing these 2 at a time, which was kind of fun at first, but then there's sections where you use 2 colors, and the colors are different in each scarf. So I have 4 balls of yarn that are literally kind of all over the place. And it was working okay where I could kind of keep the yarn for each scarf on different sides. But then as the scarf started getting longer, it was harder to kind of adjust the work so that not everything was getting twisted. So what I've actually been doing is kind of going back and for every, let me just like show you one. So for every color change section, mess something up on there? Why does that look funny? For every color change section, I've been just doing one scarf and then going and doing the other scarf and then going back. So they've stayed on the needles, but I've just been kind of going back and forth on one scarf and then switching. It's kind of fun though. Like I think for something that didn't have to use 2 colors for an item, and depending, I guess, on the size of it, it's kind of fun doing 2 at a time. Anyway, something to think about. So let me show you. So I'll show you this one first. So it starts with a solid color, and these are knit on the bias, so you can see they're all kind of diagonal. And then it's just this really interesting kind of 2-colored textured section. And you're actually only using 1 yarn across and back, so it sort of uses like a mosaic kind of slip stitch structure. And then there's the 2 new colors, and then I'm doing these 2 colors, and then the end will be this cream color, solid, like this blue. So I'm almost done this one. I only have a few more rows of this and then just a solid section. Then the second one also started, see what I mean by all of the tangly yarn? Also started with the same navy blue, but then it's blue and gray, and then gray and kind of like an icier sort of blue gray. And then I did start to the next section, but I didn't like I said, I'm waiting. Oh, somehow Siri thinks I'm talking to them. I'm not sure I understand because I'm not talking to you, Siri. Sorry. So, and then the last section is sort of this bluish gray and like a very light gray. So it's fun. So I like them. I really hope she likes them. I had worked with her through Etsy for a custom order where I only really post the pattern of this for sale on Etsy, but she asked if I could actually make her 2, and we worked on colors, and that's that. So as soon as I'm done these, those will go off to her. You may not get to see the finished objects. I'm hoping by next podcast they will be done and blocked and gone, but I will take pictures, of course. The second whip, so this is actually one that I started. Once I finished the Which Way, I needed a project to just kind of take to work with me that was fairly mindless. So this pattern is the azalea shawl, and I am 95% sure that it's free. And I'm using, I had shown this yarn a long time ago when I bought it. So this is Stacy Taki yarn, and this is Tandem. And this colorway, I don't know if there's a name, 013. Oh, Smoky Mountains, color 13. I don't know if you'll really get a good view of it, but it's a really pretty, I hate focus. It's a really pretty kind of blue, gray, purple, kind of. Anyway. So this is a shawl that my friend Bonnie in my knitting group had done, and she did it with this yarn too, although in a different colorway. And it's a little out of my, I won't say comfort zone, but out of like the yarn I would typically use. Like this yarn, I should have said that. So this is made up of 28% cotton, 28% viscose, 28% nylon, and 16% acrylic. So it's very much like, I mean, it's like a silky ribbon yarn. Like, I mean, I would say it veers toward being kind of novelty-ish, which I don't tend to go toward. But it's soft and it just has a really interesting texture, and I just kind of love this color and figured I would give it a go. And when I saw Bonnie's when it was done and after she blocked it, like it had a really good drape, and so it's cool. So it's something different anyway. So this is it. So it's actually a top-down triangular shawl. It just has sections of stockinette and then small little reverse stockinette ridges. It's got just sort of a center spine. I did make one modification where I think in the pattern, when you do the reverse stockinette row, the spine would also be purled, but I flipped that so that the spine on this ends up being, sorry, this is really hard to show because it's not cooperating. So the spine would be all stockinette. I didn't kind of want the purl bumps across the spine. Anyway, and I think this pattern calls for only 3 balls, and when Bonnie did it, she ended up getting a couple more, so I did the same. But I mean, you definitely go through yarn quick. So I have this much left of the 3rd ball, and then those 2 others that I showed you. I mean, and it's on a very small cable right now, so it's bunching up a lot. But it won't be super deep. It'll probably be longer than it is deep because it has fairly quick increases. And then the end has like a picot bind off. So I mainly I want to make sure I don't run out of yarn before the bind off. I just need to weigh and measure. I am using, I think the pattern calls for 8s, but I'm using 9s. Mainly because I think all my 8s are on projects. And these are my Zings, Knitter's Pride Zings, interchangeable set, and I don't know, I just kind of wanted to use these, so I just went up a needle size, and it was fine. Like once I started doing it, it's not like this is super loose, and I figured with this kind of yarn anyway, it wouldn't really matter. So yeah, so that's it, azalea shawl. We actually have knitting group tonight, and my friend Bonnie hasn't seen that I even started this yet, and she doesn't watch the podcast, so she won't know anyway, but the fact that I am where I am, like I saw her 2 weeks ago, she's going to be mad that I've made this much progress in 2 weeks while working on a bunch of other things when it takes her longer, but I'm fast. I've been doing this for a long time. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I do want to cast on a couple things. When I'm done the Fahrenheit 113 scarves, I think the next thing I'm going to cast on is the Casito scarf, which is a really pretty worsted weight scarf that was in the Malabrigo Heritage ebook collection that I was in. Can't remember the designer's name of the Quenelle, I think it's Quenelle. And it just uses 2 skeins of Malabrigo Rios. And it's actually similar to the Fahrenheit 113 in a way where the way it kind of lets 2 colors interact in like a really neat mosaic way. And I have lots of Rios, so I haven't fully picked which 2 colors I'm going to do. I may make a couple, like if it goes pretty quick. It's a great pattern. So anyway, so I think that's next. Once I cast off Fahrenheit 113, I think it uses the same needle size. So that one's going to be going on. So hopefully you'll see that next time. Okay, now how long have I been talking? About a half hour. So now I want to talk about what I got. I don't know what's come over me, but I've been buying a lot of yarn. I think it's the weaving thing. Again, even though I was so excited to destash by weaving, I'm buying more than I'm using, but that's okay. And I think like, I buy a couple things here and there, but then it adds up. Like you forget like, oh yeah, I bought stuff from someone else. Okay, first I want to show you July's knit crates so that you can jump in and get them before they sell out if you're interested. So as you may know from previous podcasts, I am in an affiliate relationship with them where they send me yarn, I show it on the podcast, talk about it, review it, give my honest opinion. They don't pay me for it other than the fact that they send yarn. And actually this month I'm going to give the goodies, 1 box of the goodies away, and I'll show you that in a second, because I want to pass on the love. Anyway, so if you're interested in anything from Knit Crate, I have a affiliate link which takes you to their page, which is right below this video, and at least it lets them know that you found your way to Knit Crate through me. And you can also use a code. I think it's the same code I have for my patterns. I think it's KYAK20. Maybe it's 25% off and it's 25. I'll check and put the real information below so that I'm not lying. But you can get a discount, and that's a discount off either like the first month of your subscription, any purchase that you make in the shop. Anyway, it's been good. I've been very, in general, like all of you know, I used to use Yarnbox, which is now like officially closing its doors and going out of business, which we all kind of saw coming. But I loved getting a subscription. It's just kind of fun to be exposed to different dyers and different bases and gets you out of kind of your color comfort zone. Really active group on Ravelry. People trade and sell their colors depending upon what their personal likes are. The patterns have been really good. Some of the boxes come with extras. I've been super happy, absolutely super happy. Anyway, so this first one, so it comes in a little box. This first one is the Knit Crate Artisan Crate. So this one is other indie dyers. So they have boxes, which I'll show you in a minute, which is their own brand of yarn. This one is actually indie dyers that they contract with. This box comes with 2 knit patterns, a beginner and an intermediate, which is something I really, really like. Where other boxes will sometimes come with a crochet pattern. Since I don't really crochet, I love having 2 knit options. And it also comes with a bonus, like fun little notion trinket, some kind of knitty related thing. So this month, and I'm super excited because I have bought this brand of yarn before but never used it, but I know it's a really good brand. So what they sent this month is Shalimar yarns. This colorway is called Love and Happiness. Don't know if the colorways are exclusive to Knit Crate. They might be. So this is the Airy base, A-E-R-I-E. And it's 70% superwash merino, 20% kid mohair, 10% silk, 420 yards. And it's so soft. Like, again, I'm not usually like an alpaca mohair person. And you can't really tell that there's mohair in here, other than that it's a little bit of a halo. And it's single ply. Let me just like show it to you closer. It's really, really pretty. The color, it's a little, the blue's a little more purpley blue. Like that's showing a lot bluer. Like this is actually more purple. I don't know, but it's a really pretty color. So I'm super excited about this. I don't know if I'm going to make so this one I'm going to hang on to. I don't know if I'm going to make the pattern that came with it, but I feel like I can find a really good pattern for 840 yards and make something nice with it. So super excited about that. This month too, I should say, they always have a theme. So this theme this month is modern primary. So it's sort of like the general idea of like the color realm they were thinking about for the colors. And then on the back, you get typically a coupon code, and it says the value of everything that you're getting. But yeah, so the patterns this month, which like I said, I'm not sure if I'm doing. So they have two. The beginner is this cowl, and then the intermediate is sort of this little cardigan shrug. But still really nice pattern options. Not for me, but I do really like them. Then the extra is a koozie, with the Knit Crate branded logo, and on the back says "Give me sunshine, a good view, and good yarn," which is really cool. And I drink iced coffee a lot in the summer, or ice. I've been changing. I used to be like a super crazy like latte, caramel macchiato, like milk coffee drinker, and kind of stopped that and have been doing either iced tea, like unsweetened iced tea, or like an iced Americano where it's just kind of espresso and water. And I've been feeling a lot better. I've lost a little bit of weight too, which is so nice. But I do kind of miss that sort of craving. But anyway, I do get iced whatever during the summer. So it's always nice to kind of come home and pop whatever you're drinking in here. So yeah, so it's a cute little extra this month. So that is the Artisan Crate, which I'm super happy about. So still available for purchase if you're interested in that yarn. And under, I don't remember the price off the top of my head, but they give the value of this whole kit as $84 because the Shalimar yarn is typically $32 a skein, and it's under $40 for the subscription. I want to say it's like $38.95 or something like that. Again, go check out the website. So this one is going to be a giveaway. So I will open up a thread in the Ravelry group. I didn't say anything in the beginning about who I was, but you can find me on Instagram as Not Your Average Knits. You can find me on Ravelry as kbridgeo. And then we have a Ravelry group for the podcast, and sometimes I'll post stuff about my patterns in there called Not Your Average Knits. But anyway, so I'm going to open a thread in the Ravelry group and do a giveaway for this. And you'll see why in a minute. So this is their membership sock crate. So this is one where they have some yarn bases and brands, which is kind of their own yarn, so they don't contract out. It's like their own exclusive yarn. And this is the sock one, so it comes with a sock pattern, typically just one skein of yarn. And this one in particular, because I haven't really been knitting socks, and because of the way the pattern is and the way the yarn is dyed, I just know I'm not going to use it in the way that the yarn is screaming to be used. So I want to give it away to someone who would fully enjoy the yarn and hopefully the pattern too. Okay, so again, same theme. So this month the yarn is again one of theirs, and it's called Euro yarn, and this is an 80-20 blend, 400 yards. And they had two colorways this month. This one is compact. They have another one that other people got that I think is like red and orange. But it's this really pretty like Kelly green color with more of like I don't even know what to call the other kind of green, but a yellowy green. The color's way more like vibrant than the camera's even showing right now. Like it's not super bright, but it's showing a little like muted right now. So this is the yarn that it came with, and the pattern is designed by Hannah Thiessen, who is actually the creative director over at Knit Crate, and she's the one that coordinated the Malabrigo Heritage pattern collection that I'm in. So she's a wonderful, wonderful person. So she created, the name of these socks are Hyla socks, Hyla. So see how the way they're knit, the cuffs, heels, and toes are the darker green, and the main part of the sock is the lighter green. I don't know for positive because I haven't downloaded the pattern yet, but I think the way the yarn is dyed allows you to 2 at a time socks, and this just kind of happens naturally. I think the heel is an afterthought heel, so that must maybe be like the yarn at the very, very end of the skein ends with green, so then you can go back in and do your heel with that. I'm not entirely sure. But I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to like undo this skein because I'm horrible at putting skeins back together. So anyway, so I want to give this away. I want someone who loves knitting socks and loves the challenge of like utilizing dyed yarn specifically for patterns to the best of its ability. I think this pattern too has a really cool, which I want to try the feature. She does it where I think there's some decreases like under the foot so that it really like hugs your foot tight, which you could probably not do in the pattern if you don't want it, but I've never seen that before. And I think one of the reasons I end up not liking socks is because I feel like they're never snug enough to my foot, or don't like making my own socks is because they're never snug enough to my foot. Anyway, so that is that. So I will gift this pattern to whoever wins the giveaway, and I will put a thread in my Ravelry group, and you could be having this sent to you. Okay, moving on. So the next thing I got, so when I ordered more of that cone yarn from Webs, I needed a certain amount to get to whatever free shipping was or whatever their like biggest discount level was. I came across this. So this is Wonderland yarn. Sorry for the crinkling. This is Cheshire Cat, which is their fingering weight, 100% merino. So these are 8 skeins of yarn that's 128 yards each for a total of 1,024 yards. I have zero idea what I'm going to do with this, whether I'm going to weave it, whether I'm going to design something. I feel like there's a lot of patterns that I've always wanted to make that uses sort of bigger minis like this. Like On the Spice Market by Melanie Berg is kind of popping into my head, where you do a solid with a bunch of minis. So I don't know. I have no idea, but I saw this, and usually when I'm like adding on something or something with minis, I feel like it's never enough yardage, and I just loved that this is over 1,000 yards of really, really pretty colors. So about that. Then I ordered hopefully you all have these, if not look away, this is the July Gilmore Girls Club Mystery Yarn from Woolberry Fiber Company. So I'm going to show that now. So the colorway is I Smell Snow, and this is on her Smooth Sock, which is 80/20, which is my new favorite weaving yarn. Super pretty, light blue, dark blue, little kind of brownish speckles. And then the mini is a very kind of gray with like navy blue in there. So pretty. I adore this. Like I would probably make a sweater with this combination, but I only have this much of it. But so thank you to Bethany. I love her yarn. I just love her aesthetic in general. And she's one that I haven't bought a lot of stuff from, just kind of here and there over the years. I don't know that I've actually ever finished anything with her yarn. Again, the amount of buying I'm doing is way exceeding the amount of stash busting I'm doing. So what I found awesome, before I get to that. So what just came in today, Tristan of Dragon Horde Yarn and the Girls in the Yarn Cafe podcast, she's been like releasing new colors left and right since she started dyeing yarn full time. And this one just jumped out at me and I couldn't resist. So this is the colorway Hakate. I don't know where that comes from or if that's how you pronounce it, but and this is a base that her and her mom both carry, and it's 85/15. And since I've been weaving with 80/20 and I love the feel, I figured 85/15, that's just even more merino wool. So that must be nice. So anyway, so I'm going to do this probably with this purple color, and weave it so that it sort of looks like this idea where this yarn will kind of be the main part of the woven item, and then I'll weave across with a purple. Yeah, it'll probably be this one. I have a slightly different purple that it might be, but anyway, I love this colorway. It's so pretty. I messaged her today when I got this in the mail. I've just been so obsessed, as you probably know, with like blues and purples and pinks. Actually, when you see the rest of what I got, I don't know why. I've never been like that kind of person before, but I am. Okay, so the next bunch of yarn that I'm going to show you is from 2 new to me dyers. Don't even remember where I heard of either of them. I tend to hear about them or see what people post on Instagram and then follow them. And I am I'm going to be definitely a repeat customer for both of these. Actually, I already was for one of them. I've already purchased from her twice. So the first is Anne over at Bay Street Yarns, and I had her card somewhere. Excuse me. Hi. Okay. So this is her card, Bay Street Yarns. She's based out of California. She did have an Etsy shop, but with all of the fee changes, she actually just launched her new own website, so Bay Street Yarns. So I got from her, again, so she carries 80/20, so that's been like my new, like, I want to weave with 80/20 because I just love how it feels. So I just kind of looked on her site. I think at the time she had a discount code that she was one of the vendors for FiberShare, so she had a discount code. So I kind of took advantage of that as a way to kind of first try her yarn. So I ended up getting 3 different colorways, and I got 2 skeins each of these colors with the absolute intent to weave with all of them. So the first is the colorway is called Ballet Shoes. And again, I'm not usually a pastel pinky person, but I just love this. So delicate, and then like the idea of just like the brown tan speckles in this. That's a good kind of look. It's really, really pretty. So I love this one. Then I got these 2. I wasn't sure if I was going to weave together, and I ended up, I'll show you them together. Like one going one way and one going the other, or doing kind of a technique, which actually I'll talk about next, where you kind of have both of them. Whatever, I'm going to do one eventually, so in a future episode you'll know what I'm talking about. But so this one is called Penny Royal, and it's just very pretty lavender with like darker purple black kind of coloring. And this one is River Trail, which I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but it's like gray, dark gray, and then just gorgeous purple. Yeah, it's pretty good right there. Love this color. And even the gray is showing up a little bit lighter than it really is. It's actually a darker color. Love it. So then she offered another coupon code, I think because when she launched her website. So I got 2 more colors, and both of these colors I had like kind of been drooling over anyway during my first order. And these 2 I'm definitely using together. This red is showing up. It's funny, it's like that color. It's way more kind of like deep blood red. I mean, it's not too bad. It's a very deep kind of blood red colorway, which again, typically red is not always my color, but, and then this one's called Schmoopy, and it's this like pretty kind of pink, but like a brownie pink, and then just has those dark speckles of this red color. So I'm super excited about that. Then I discovered the Blackberry Ridge. And so she posted, so I've been following her on Instagram, I don't know for how long, but then she posted this colorway called Old Soul. And so my niece's school colors, which I think I've talked about before, are maroon and gold, and that is the school that I do my craft fair at. So I'm always on the hunt for yarn that's like a good maroon and gold. The whole like Harry Potter maroon and gold color, like it's just not quite perfect. Like it's a little too red. Like I don't know. Like I've asked them a million times, like, would you look at this and think your school colors? And they're kind of like, it's not really that perfect. But I did buy 2 cones, which I'm gonna weave with at some point, in a perfect gold color for this. And then the maroon is almost like coffee brown, but I feel like in a scarf it'll look good. So I was psyched about that. Anyway, so she posted this, and I kind of asked for a little more clarification on the colorway. And it's not like perfect maroon, but I feel like it's a really kind of cool, more muted take on maroon and gold. So see how like the yellow is even more kind of gold than the camera's showing. But I just love it. And then it's just kind of this like pinky brown maroonish colorway. Really pretty. And this is on, I think she said it's a newer base for her. This is on Briar Classic, and it's 100% superwash merino, 400 yards. So I got 2 to make a scarf. Super excited. And then she has a really gorgeous tonal colorways too. And these 2 are on her Briar sock base, which is 80/20. I'm sensing a theme with 80/20. So this is Verbena is the colorway. And it's pretty much purple, like a dusky kind of purple color. It looks a little gray in some areas, but it's just really, really pretty. And then this color I adore too, and this one's called Fickle. And I think she posted on Instagram that she still had. Ooh, and I'm like seeing really pretty colors in this. I only got this yesterday, so I haven't looked at it really closely. So it's a really pretty like raspberry, but then look at those speckles in there. It's like maroon speckles, kind of orangey speckles, and like black. Really cool. So I don't know what I may, again, use this on a weave with like a different solid color going the other way. I was almost thinking about using those together too. I don't know. Okay, that's all I'm going to show you. There are other things that I got. I had placed a Eat Sleep Knit order, but I'll just show you that stuff like when I use it. I don't really have any kind of use for it right away. But that's it for now. I have a couple other things coming in the mail. I have Freckled Whimsy. I wanted to try one of her self-striping colorways. And then Maker's Haven posted some stuff in her shop, so I bought some stuff from her. But I think that's it right now that's still out in the mail. I just need to get moving. I feel guilty when I weave because it's taking time away from knitting. And there's so many things that I want to knit. It's hard. I want to make all of the things, and there's just not enough time in the day. Anyway. Okay, I know you all feel my pain. Absolutely feel my pain. Okay, I'm going to wrap things up. I hope everyone is doing well. There's so many podcasts that have recently come out from the podcasts I typically watch that I'm going to kind of chill and watch some of those and get knitting and weaving and all of that good stuff while I have some time. Hope everyone's doing good. Remember that we will do the Entrelac along in August, so be thinking about that. I will definitely, fingers crossed, podcast one more time in July. Head over to the Ravelry group if you want to win the Knit Crate sock membership box, which hopefully you do because it is gorgeous, and I want to see one of you make those wonderful socks. And that's it. If you have any questions about me, about knitting, always feel free to post below, and I will try to answer those in a future episode. Or reach out to me on Instagram, all that good stuff. And if you haven't subscribed, but you enjoy my videos, I would love it if you could. I always love to see those numbers kind of go up. I feel like slowly but surely. I know I don't have nearly the number of subscribers that some of my fellow podcasters do, but I love all of you loyal watchers out there who come back week after week. But if you have any friends that watch podcasts, definitely let them know about my podcast and subscribe, because I just adore doing this and love being able to just chat with you all. Anyway, so I will talk to you next time. Keep on knitting. Bye, guys.